What if I told you you've been lied to about how to get rid of belly fat from sit-ups, waist trainers, and fat burners? All of it is nonsense. You see, when most people think of fat, they just think about the fat they can picture on the outside of their stomach. But there's actually a more dangerous type of fat that's stored on the organs on the inside of the stomach. Now, this is called visceral fat, and when stored in high amounts, can be linked to many diseases. And even if you're not carrying much fat on the outside, you may still be carrying a high amount of visceral fat on the inside. So in this video, I'm going to break down the two different types of fat, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to get rid of it. So, as you can see from my world-class drawing, we've got two different types of fat. Subcutaneous fat, which I'm going to call normal fat for now, and visceral fat. So, starting off, we've got person A. Person A has a low amount of normal fat, but a high amount of visceral fat. So it's not obvious from the outside that he's carrying a lot of this dangerous fat on the inside on his internal organs. However, person B, on the other hand, is carrying a high amount of both, yet it's only visible on person B because he has a high amount of normal fat that you carry on your belly. Now, the reason for person A's visceral fat being so high is because of his diet habits. He may be eating a low amount of calories, but those calories that he's eating will be higher in saturated fats, leaving him to store a lot more visceral fat. Now, if you just start doing 100 sit-ups a day, you'll get abs. Wrong. This is the biggest myth out there. So many people think that you can spot reduce fat by just targeting your abs when you train, by doing crunches, sit-ups, or even buying those silly ab machines. However, you can't target where you lose fat. The truth is, doing more crunches will strengthen your core. It won't burn off the belly fat. Your body decides where it loses fat first based on genetics and hormones. So for some, they'll lose fat in their face first, in their arms, in their chest, before they lose it in their belly, which can be frustrating, but it's completely normal. And studies will even back this up. They did a study where they just had participants train one arm to see if they would lose more fat on that arm. However, they just lost fat globally. Yes, they built more muscle on that one arm locally, but fat loss happens globally. Now let's talk about how to lose fat. Now, starting off, we've got nutrition. Nutrition actually makes up 80% of the battle when it comes to losing fat, because you can't out-train a bad diet. And as much as I try, I still have to focus on my nutrition. And the formula for this is simple. All you need to do is work out your maintenance calories, minus 500 calories from that number, and that will put you in a calorie deficit. And you'll lose anywhere from up to a kilo of body weight a week. And if you don't know how to work out this formula and your calorie deficit, then just comment below this video saying calories, and I'll send you a link to the best calorie calculator out there. Now, it's important to mention that not all calories are equal, and the type of calories that you eat matters. A study shows that when they took two groups and split them in two and gave them the same calorie deficit, and they had group A eating a lot more saturated fats, they lost a lot less visceral fat, and group B had a lot more polyunsaturated fats, which resulted in them losing more visceral fat, and they had better metabolic health markers. But overall, both groups lost the same amount of weight. So the type of food you eat matters. Now, next up, we've got training. Now, this does my head in. Most people think when they want to lose weight, they need to do endless amounts of cardio on the treadmill, which just isn't true. Yes, going on the treadmill, doing a run or a walk or any type of cardio will burn more calories than just sitting. However, the real cheat code is resistance training. Because when you build more muscle, you increase your resting metabolic rate, which basically means you burn more calories while you sleep. And now you don't need to be doing 2 hours in the gym every single week. Literally just 3 to 4 sessions a week, 1 hour at a time, focusing on compound lifts and a few accessory lifts is enough to build muscle in the key places that most guys want them. Bigger chest, bigger shoulders, and bigger legs. And that way, when you lose weight, you don't just look like a skinny twig once you've lost all the weight. And lastly, we've got lifestyle. Now, if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, your training and your nutrition are on point, but yet your body seems to be fighting back, you may actually be quite right. Because if you're only getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, you're constantly stressed out. Your body is actually fighting fat loss. Poor sleep equals a higher level of cortisol, higher cravings, and poor insulin sensitivity. And stress brings on more stress eating, cravings, and poor recovery. And with all these stacking up, your body will store more fat. A few ways that you can improve your lifestyle is just by aiming for 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night and trying to manage stress by either walking, journaling, or even just unplugging from your phone just before you go to bed could really improve your recovery. Now it's time to piece it all together, which can sometimes be the hardest part. And that's exactly why I created the Alpha Mass Protocol, a 4-week structured program to give guys who want to lose fat and build a lean, muscular body the exact tools they need to piece all of this together. And if this is something you want help with, then I invite you to book a call with me using the link below where we can have a chat. If not, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've learned something from it and you can use to take away and apply to your own training. And I'll catch you in the next one.